Heyo, busy brain. Welcome to the Busy Brained Saint podcast, where faith meets focus. I'm Camden Hainsworth, an expert ADHD coach, here to help you understand your mind with confidence. God knows your brain perfectly, so let's explore that divine design together and discover just how fulfilling your life can be, living with God and ADHD. Hello, you made it. I'm so happy that you are here. My brain is busy and my heart is full. Today's podcast episode is titled Creativity, Grief, and God with our special guest, Lisa Valentine Clark. She is a writer, actress, comedian, and the host of The Lisa Show on BYUtv. She's also a mom of 5 and an incredibly down-to-earth, kind individual. You've maybe also seen her in Once I Was a Beehive, Random Acts, and the Improv series Show-Offs. She's the author of Real Moms, Making It Up As We Go, a favorite of mine, which truly captures her blend of humor, honesty, and heart. But what I love most about Lisa is the way she talks about life with vulnerability, faith, and a deep belief in the divine creativity that lives inside each one of us. She has walked through some pretty profound grief after losing her husband, Christopher, to ALS, and she shares that journey with so much grace and truth on this episode. Today, we're talking about creativity, resilience, improv, mental wellness, and how our spiritual lives and neurodiverse brains can work together instead of against us. Lisa brings a grounded perspective that feels both hopeful and real, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. Let's dive right in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Busy Brain Saint. My brain is busy and my heart is full. Today's podcast episode is so exciting. We get to talk with Lisa Valentine Clark. And many of you know her from a variety of things I already mentioned on the bio. But I most recently saw her at the I Am Mom Summit, and I have been waiting for an opportunity to approach Lisa because I knew that she needed to be on the podcast. And I'm a firm believer in not forcing things, but seeing things play out as needed. And so I heard her over my shoulder talking with a friend at another booth, and I was like, she's still there. It's been an hour. All right, I'll meander. I'm not going to impose upon her personal time. And she so graciously said yes, and I'm so happy to have you on, Lisa. Thanks for being
coming
here.
And talking to me at the Carmel booth at the I Am Mom Summit.
delicious.
That's why I was there for so long talking. Also, because my cute friend Brittany, we needed to catch up. So
I bought some of her caramels,
amazing.
and they are delicious. What is the name? It's Sweet Clementine or
Clementine? Yeah, I
should
know this.
Right.
My
Clementine
friend's
something.
business.
I don't know.
Try the pistachio.
Absolutely, that was
so
the best
good.
one.
She hand makes them. I don't know how she does it.
2,500 every week. She said
she's amazing
and a fellow busy
sure.
brain.
So in the best creative
I will
way.
definitely shout that out. So one of the things I loved that you talked about was improv when you were on stage. And you've also talked about before creativity and how creativity is a spiritual gift. And so I think that's a great place to start. I have had your book in my bathroom for years.
What a privilege. Thank you.
I know. See, I thought it would be appropriately juxtaposed there, making it up as it go. And that's the only time we get to read about it. So, and I love just your humor and how you go about life and your creativity and your flexibility, this flexible brain that you have to see life as it comes and then to make it into something beautiful. So can we start there?
Man,
can we start
let's dive
with
deep.
Making it up as we go?
Let's do it.
That's all we do here. No small talk.
I belong here.
Tell me a little bit more about that creativity. Where do you think that came from, and where do you feel like it started to really resonate in your life? Was it a young thing? Is something developed?
Such a great question. I was really, really blessed. One of the biggest blessings in my whole life was growing up in a creative home where creativity was not just valued, but it was encouraged and taught and lived. My mother is an artist, and she and my father just have this really great philosophy about raising kids and creating a life that just is, you'll never know what's going to happen in life, but here are some things that you can control. And creativity is one of them, of having a creative pursuit, of leaning into that. So growing up, my mom didn't like coloring books, just coloring inside someone else's lines. She had always endless bolts of blank paper, and crayons and oil pastels and other pastels and paints and all sorts of things, and showed us all the different ways that we could create, and just let us at it. We went to lots of different kinds of, like artistic sort of camps and things that she had taught. She would like put on music and have us create whatever came to our mind, things like that. Like we would go to the gardens near our home in the summers, just with sketchbooks, and just draw. And it wasn't like, follow these 3 steps in order to draw a flower. Or it was just, learn how to express yourself. We took music lessons and piano lessons, and went to art museums, and took long walks in nature, and went on long bike rides and things like that. And my mom always said, I don't want to overschedule you kids, because I want you to have time to lie in the grass and look at the clouds. And it's, this is how I just grew up. And I didn't realize until later that it was quite unusual, right? To sort of see the world like that.
That's
and
beautiful.
And, when we got older and it was time to, of course, go to college and get as much education as you can, was always the idea. And get a good liberal arts education. Learn how to learn how to think, learn how to be discerning. It wasn't like go and become an engineer, or go and become this one thing, or a teacher, or whatever it is. Like it was learn how to learn and be curious and read. And reading was just the big thing, right, in my home, and still is. And so this idea of creativity is the water that I swam in as I was growing up. And then as you sort of realize that, life is a lot of things. Let's just dive into that.
Yes, it
and
is.
You don't, and I grew up thinking that I had more control over what happens in life and what I became than I actually did, which I think was kind of good in a way, because it gave me this unwarranted confidence just to try stuff. And it wasn't until later that I was like, oh yeah, sometimes even if you try really hard at stuff, it's just not in the cards, or it's not going to happen for you. But it was too late.
Well, you brought that up. You brought that up on
Yes.
stage. I loved when you said, what is it called? Like, try out for the character that you're well suited
know
for.
your casting.
What is it called?
Your castability.
Yes.
So, I was married for 25 years to a theater director, and we used to joke about this all the time.
No kidding.
That he, you got to know your casting. So he would teach all these actors, coming up, and they want to make it in the biz. And one of the harsh realities is that sometimes you may think that you're the leading lady, or that you're the ingenue, that everyone's going to fall in love with, or whatever, whatever. But you may be the character actor, Grossier number 2 that yells, "They ran that way," you may not be the cast of, it just depends on in what context. Now, am I saying that you shouldn't be the leading lady in your own life? No, of course not. In your own life,
no,
you
that's
are,
not the point.
Sure. But you also have to face sort of the reality of your situation and what you're working with. And
That's
who
right.
you are. And that is, I think, a bigger way of saying, don't try to be somebody you're not. And lean into your own likes, your dislikes, and your talents, instead of trying to push them aside and act like somebody else, or act like a gift of sets of values and talents and interests that you think someone should have, or ones that are praised in our society. But instead, just saying, no, this is how I want to be, or who I'm going to be, is much more fun. It's more creative. It's more productive. I think it honors God more. It's a different way to worship in your life. I just think that's where it's at. And creativity and improvisation has helped reinforce that for me, because we're making our lives up every second of our day, and there's no time to waste.
Thank you. That's fabulously put. I was going to be a dentist. I went to school. I was going to get my, undergrad from BYU, and it took me until after my mission. I was at a fireside at the law school. My roommate was going to law school, and a sister got up there and she said, God gave you gifts that you're supposed to be using. You don't have to always go and try and make new gifts, new talents. And it just something clicked in me. And that's when I became an educator. And then education allowed me to play more music in the classroom, then to write music, and then to teach kids across the world, and then to learn about coaching, which is very similar. And then, and it was in that creativity. And I became an elementary school teacher because I couldn't just focus on one subject. Like, I needed the multi-passionate nature. So what you're saying is directly has impacted my life, specifically with ADHD, where I was like, no, this is too busy. This is too big. This is too, multi-passionate. But when I actually asked myself and was honest with me and God, this exact thing happened. And I found my lane. And it was the easiest schooling I have ever done, not because it was education, but all of a sudden I was the lowest in my class, the top of my class, with less effort, because it was something that I was meant to do. I was made to do. Is where I shone. I shine. You I was more shinified. Easier. So I think that there's something really,
and I think that there's something in that of like, when I hear you talking about it, of like, things feel like they click, right? They felt like they flowed. Yeah. You said it wasn't as much effort, and I would kind of push back a little bit and say it wasn't like it wasn't hard work, but the
Oh no, I was up till still 2 in the morning.
Like, I knew that when you said it, and maybe effort is not the fullest word to use. Maybe it's more like it just felt worthwhile. There's nothing more frustrating when you're working so hard on something that you don't feel is aligned with your passion or don't feel is worthwhile. And also too, I want to be really careful. Like, had you been a dentist, like dentists, engineers,
I would have been a great
math
dentist.
Teachers, all these things that we kind of are like, ugh. We say, like, those can be absolutely infinitely creative as well, and creative pursuits.
My dentist used to use a Donald Duck voice.
Do you know what I mean?
To
like,
me
yeah,
when I was young.
And there's lots
cool.
of different ways to
ADHD
solve
too.
problems that are oral related. Like, I'm just saying, like whatever your play field is. And that's what I think is so expanding about it, because I think sometimes we have these limiting beliefs and we give them to each other and to ourselves, in society unintentionally. We say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what do you like to do? Or, we kind of like you have to choose one thing, and nobody's just one thing. Right. And you can't, and so a lot of people do jobs that they, they're like, well, they're okay. I don't know if it's my calling, but it, supports my family, which is noble. Or it supports me. That's great. But also live a life that is creative and is true to them. So it's not, I think some people have this, either fear of or stereotype that like living a creative life means that you're like some sort of bohemian traveler that has no job and just sings songs along the road, and a life like that would drive me nuts. But for some people that's great. But what I'm saying is there's not just one way to do it. And once I let go to that and really believed it, that there are millions of ways to live a good creative life with a sense of purpose. Then there's more fun in like the discovering of it, instead of the like, where did everything go wrong? Am I off the path? And how am I doing compared to my neighbor? It's the antithesis of that like social pressure that we feel to perform.
Hey guys, I hope that you are really enjoying this amazing podcast. I want to take a moment to talk to you a little bit more about my LDS group coaching program called Mindful. Mindful was established a couple years ago when I saw lots of different coaching programs out there, knowing that they were really helpful, but not seeing one specific to members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we have a very unique culture. We understand callings, what Young Women's is, and we understand the Word of Wisdom. There's a lot of things that we navigate that the world at large don't really understand the way that an active member of the church does. Having said that, everyone is welcome. This is a very affordable coaching program comparatively, and I bring a lot of value. So let your friends come in. If being a member of the church was your past faith tradition and you get all of the jargon, I am a great ADHD coach for anyone. I've been doing this for a number of years, and I honestly can coach everyone. And I wanted to make Mindful faith-affirming and helpful for members of the church who live active lives, who have to navigate all that comes with that, or get to navigate all that comes with that. We have 4 live calls every single month, and we've been doing this for a couple years now. So we have lots of recordings, over 100 recordings of coaching calls of people just like you getting coached by me on faith, on structures, on systems, on emotions, relationships. All of that is there. In addition to that, every quarter we have a mini course or a guest speaker, and all of that is going to be there for you in addition to the ones that are coming up. This is a subscription-based platform, so it's $115 a month during the time of this recording, and you will get massive value. This isn't just me to many type of coaching. This is one-on-one coaching. The likelihood of you getting coached is very, very high because we keep this group nice and small. And if it starts to get too big, then I up the number of calls that we have every week, because I want you to be able to at least get face-to-face coached once a month. Now, having said that, many people get coached more than that. If you're the only one on the call, you get all my time for that hour. If there's a couple of you on the call, we usually do 2 to 3 people on a call. Plus, any questions that you might have, you can put into the chat and pick my brain about ADHD and all the variety of subjects that go along with that. So I hope that you join us. I hope that you consider coming into Mindful, a beautiful, sweet community of other people that are very similar to you with your neurodivergent brain and your desire to improve. We are not here to, hammer on the negatives of our brain. We are here to look for actual solutions that will empower you, will improve your life, and help you have greater life satisfaction. Thanks for being here. I hope to see you soon in Mindful. Back to the podcast. Thanks for being with me today. I appreciate the distinction that you're making. Sometimes I'll call it feels a little bit less crunchy for us as we're moving forward. It doesn't mean it's not hard work. It doesn't mean that blood, sweat, and tears, that is still there, but it feels less like we're dragging on the bottom of the ocean, trying to force, similar to like putting your hand super tight on a bicycle and feeling every bump, right? Versus like loosening up and being able to trust the process and feel yourself in that. So do you feel like that's what brought you into acting and being in front of people in your podcast? And do you feel like that you truly began to sense that? And when did you start to sense that within yourself that, here's my creativity, but then this is how I'm going to channel it? Or this, like, was that a playground for a while?
Yeah, it wasn't as calculated, I think. I was like, I need to get as much education as I can. And what do I want to do every day? And what sounds exciting? And teaching high school English was compelling to me at that time. Because it is unhinged and anything could happen. And you get same thing. Like I could sing songs about, conjunction, junction, what's your function? And I could read poetry and talk about the beautiful symmetry in a 5-paragraph essay and learn and teach how to like be persuasive and literary. And I just thought, and I did that for a long time and I really loved it. So my path wasn't as calculated as that, but I have always felt too that like you're more than what you do for a living or for a job. And so I just started doing improv in college and had so much fun with it and just kept doing it and kept playing with it and kept finding opportunities to do it. And I'd like to say that I sort of like stumbled into it, like when you fall up the stairs, when like you're running really, like you're a little kid and you're running really hard up the stairs and you sort of fall up the stairs. I feel like that's how my career is like, I meant to go there, but it just in a different way. And one opportunity.
You had momentum though. You followed the momentum
and so there. I, did a lot of improv in college and did a lot of improv with people who then went on to write screenplays and commercials and worked in advertising and film. And it was like, hey, I wrote this part for you. Or, hey, I want you to audition for this. And I started doing voiceover work, which led to acting work, which led to commercials, which led to some TV projects, which led to some film projects, which led to the funnest thing, which was just doing improv with my friends with the Thrillionaires. We created our own theater troupe because at that time, everybody was doing short form improvisation, like little short games, which is fun. But we wanted to we would really got into the long form, like doing a whole improvised play, or even better yet, a musical where you make up songs and then you have a beginning, middle, and end, and like using all of this stuff that I learned with my English degree that I loved, of like Tennessee Williams or
so cool.
Oscar Wilde or Jane Austen or Shakespeare or even John Hughes, 80 movies, or westerns or film noir, and all these different film and literature genres, just to improvise an entire play and or musical. And so, at the time I was having a lot of children and I would tuck those little kids in bed. My husband was always working a couple jobs and in school full time. I put him through school. He got a PhD anyway. And so this was my thing. My thing was like tucking him in bed and saying, see you later, leave him with the babysitter, and then go and do improv with my friends. And we just did it for fun, We maybe made $20. I don't know. I can't remember. We made enough money to get a burger on the way home and just laugh with my friends. And and it was like here I'm doing work on my own. Like we're researching genres or researching like the different tropes that they have, the character styles, the thematic usages of each, idea, the costumes. And we would talk about it and discuss it. And then we would get up on stage that weekend or that Monday night to do improv. And we would just like throw it all out the window and step up on stage and say, let's do a Tennessee Williams play, or let's do a musical based on a Jane Austen film, I don't know, or movie or book. And
I love it.
It was I have the best memories from it. It was so great. But what I'm saying is that I like it folded into my life. Now, out of that came a lot of opportunities, to do TV and movies and things like that, where it was like, hey, let's put on a show together. Hey, what if we wrote a movie? Hey, what if we improvised some of these scenes? Hey, what would happen? And I get some calls from those people, and a couple of times I have where it's like, hey, we're making this movie. No one's getting paid. We're going to do it in 6 days, and we're going to make this movie. Are you in? And it's like, heck yeah, I'm in. Like no money, man. Lots of work. Hanging out with my friends, making stuff up and making each other laugh. Are you kidding me? I'm in. Sign me up.
The novelty of it,
it's
right?
Why I don't have a lot of money.
The novelty of stepping in and
I haven't
seeing what happens on the other side.
So, I mean, living my life with that idea. But again, so this wasn't my full-time job for a long time. Improvisation does not pay the bills. Breaking news.
Right.
But having that just be a part of my life enriched my life in a way that absolutely affected my family life, my career, my sense of purpose, my connection with God, all of these things. It was a huge benefit and part of living this full life.
How did you make those decisions? So, and maybe it was more faith and trust and what it might be, but a lot of the time people with ADHD and, I know you have a busy brain. You're not like officially diagnosed.
My kids all are adults now, all of them, and they're like, "Mom, for sure you do." And I was like, "You think so?" And they're like, "Exhibit A, Exhibit B." Remember when we were kids? And I was like, "Yeah, but that's just my new system." But yeah, I'm just really. And they're like, "Mom, look in the mirror." And so I have been kind of like thinking, like, "Oh, maybe let's see." All 5 of my children have it. My late husband had it. And I think I'm the only one that doesn't.
It's as heritable as height. I wonder where that comes from. Regardless, like I hear your busyness in your brain, you're multi-passionate, your ability to take all of the information that's popping around your head and then to make it into something linear, which is essentially when I was talking with Stephen Sharp Nelson
Love that
about
guy.
a year ago,
Oh my
same
gosh.
thing.
Talk about a
isn't he
live
awesome?
wire. How fun.
Yes. And it was very similar to what you're describing is let me like pack in all the education and all this wild mind that I have, and then let's see what we can create out of it. So I guess that's a small tangent, but then the next question is, I loved how you bring in like balance is a terrible word, but prioritization or like, where did you choose? It sounds like you had so many opportunities, but how, what, when, what was your
great question?
ability to choose?
That's a question that we like really talk about a lot, right? Like, oh, what happens when you want to do all of the things and everyone has limited time, resources, and energy. Everyone does. And so I never thought, oh, poor me. I have limited time, resources. Here's the thing. I think that I've always owned up my own choices, and that's helped give me a lot of inner peace of like,
What does that sound like for you?
So that sounds like, do you want to have a big family? Do you want to have 5 kids? Do you want to get married young? Like, do you feel pressured to it, or do you really want to? And it's like, ooh, I really want to. Like, this is the kind of life that you want to have. Okay, here's another, like, in my brain. Like, okay, so you married this actor, director wannabe. So, and he wants to do all these things. Do you want to attach yourself to him? Yeah, actually I do. That sounds like a really fun life. Cool. And I'm going to take ownership for that. And so I'm going to know that, like, I'm going to give up some things in order to have what I really want. Right. And so that kind of.
So it takes you more in less out of the victim and more in the proactive.
And so then when it gets really busy and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. My husband has like 2 jobs. He's going to school full time. He's like volunteering in our church. I have 5 little kids at home. This is insane. Like, and I'm doing these projects and all this stuff. And then I would stop and I'd be like, what a fun, full life. What I'm complaining about is that I have all this fullness. I have all these things. Okay, so if I'm feeling this way and it's feeling suffocated, then maybe I need to take a step back and rest for a while and not do so many outside jobs, or maybe I need to like recalibrate, but I don't have to blow up my whole life. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people feel trapped, talk about how like, oh, life should be this way. They get to midlife and they totally blow up their life because it's not what they want. And instead it's just like, as you're kind of going along, I think it's better to say, is this what I want? And how can I readjust? And I had to do that with every baby I had, with every new opportunity my husband took or I took. Like, we had to negotiate that, right, as co-parents. And I think for me, looking back, I remember thinking, I want to have all of my schooling done before I have kids. And I think that was a big deal. Like, now I have all my tools and my options. And then I had kids very intentionally, and I wanted a lot of kids because I wanted that family life. And that became like the center. And that center of my family didn't work unless the marriage worked, right? So nurturing my marriage and making sure, okay, are we aligned? Are we helping each other? Are we really partners? And that's that back and forth, and sometimes giving up some opportunities for him, and him sometimes giving up opportunities for me. And based on that kind of community, because that's what I wanted. Because at the end of the day, I was like, I want a strong marriage and a happy family, like with my kids. And that was the center of it all. And all that other stuff was extra creativity because I didn't see it like family, my creative pursuits. I was like, oh no, my family, my marriage, my raising children is the most creative thing that I will ever do, and the most creative, fulfilling, creating a home, creating a family culture, creating relationships. Like, there is nothing more rewarding, nothing more creative, nothing more exciting and fulfilling than that. So that was like the center. And then other opportunities were on the outside of like, oh yeah, I want to write a book. Oh yeah, I want to do a TV show. Oh yeah, I want to go and just do improv with my friends. And all of that was, different times and seasons allowed me to do more or less of that.
Sure.
And just opportunity. Because sometimes you get the opportunities, sometimes you don't. But most of the time you just have to make the opportunity yourself because no one's going to call.
I think that's right. Yeah, and be ready to say yes. Be ready to move. Like respond. I feel a real sense of like you being willing to live on your toes to a degree and know when to settle down, and take that deep breath, but then get back on your toes so that you're ready to take advantage of the moments that come your way. And I can actually appreciate that in terms of a busy brain. A lot of time we get a bad rap as being impulsive individuals. And I was listening to another podcast, and the individual was speaking to children with impulsivity challenges. And he said, well, we never talk about like the kids that are people pleasers that are sitting in their chairs that are always afraid to take initiative, right? In schools, we're never saying, oh, they need to
and who are waiting to be told
or whatever.
To do everything. What do I do now?
Everything. They don't know how to be know how to be a self-starter. And so to your point, and the listeners, can we see here that being on our toes, that trusting the creative process, that seeing the improv right before us is actually what gives you life, what has given you life. And the self-trust to know that you have gas and brakes. that
self-care
you're in charge of both of those pedals.
Is a real thing, and no one else is going to do it for you. And I'll tell you too, like, I know this is funny coming from me, but like I don't consider myself a huge risk taker. But looking back at my life, I have taken a lot of risks. So I can see.
Yeah. What's the difference? Like, is it just like your confidence?
Like in my brain, I think, oh, I'm not ready. Like this is what goes through my brain. And every time I do improv, every time I've done like a movie with my friends, every time I do a podcast, I mean, anything creative really. Even when I just sit down and paint and I'm not going to show anyone else it. What goes on in my brain is like kind of, who do you think you are? You can't do this. Total imposter syndrome. You're not good at this yet. You're not going to do this up to your taste level. This is going to be frustrating. And I still at my age have to quiet that inner critic that's like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to do it perfectly. I'm not going to do it even better than like other people. But I'm going to do it. And I don't want to be one of those people that just sits around and lets the opportunities go. I'm going to do it imperfectly. I'm going to do it and probably make fun of myself and probably be really cringy to my kids or whatever, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do the thing. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the,
because what's the alternative?
Is not doing the thing. And what a tragedy it is if we come into this world and we don't know how much time we have and life is short and we don't do the thing. And when I saw it through the eyes of my kids, when I thought, well, what would I want them to do? I'm like, I just want them to try. Or like I tell them, like, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Just be afraid of making the same mistake. Like make different ones. Like just try at something, and you'll get better. And this idea of being the best or being so cool and awesome, and it like that's an illusion. And just be yourself.
Well, because in the doing, you have become
no. Oh, like heavens, no.
No, I remember. Listen. I remember we were at it was a cute Thanksgiving premiere. Brooke White was there. She was in there, and I can't remember what the movie was called. It was a Thanksgiving movie, and I was there in the seats with my friend Kate, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's Lisa! I love her."
So
and she was so sweet, and you were sitting right in front of us, and she tapped you on the shoulder. She's like, "Just by the way, I just love you." And so I think that's the whole thing is, I mean, at that point I had your book. I think you're awesome too, but it was so darling to see that in the just doing it, you have created just this beautiful joy and light for people. You've also great insight, like really important principles and values you've been able to instill in people and offer people to consider, because you were willing to put yourself out there.
Well, that's a very generous
I loved how you
thing
said,
to
do
say.
it imperfectly.
Thank you.
No, it's true. You're welcome. But it's true. And I want to offer that to our listeners here, that a lot of the time, because we have busy brains, I loved how you said, do it cringy for my kids, but also you said not quite up to my taste level, man. I want to put that on a shirt. I'll tell you, because we see vision.
Do, and it's a blessing and a curse, because like I always like to say, like I have a really great taste in music. I can identify really good music, and it moves me from tears, and I value it, and I know and I love going and listening to live music. Now I play the piano, and I play it very mediocrely. Not really very well. And I had to make a conscious decision, and it was probably about 7 years ago. I was like, I like playing the piano, but I stopped doing it for so many years because I wasn't very good. Because when I played, I was like, this is not good. I now play all the time, and I am a big proponent of having mediocre hobbies that you're not good at, that you're not going to monetize, that you don't just show off or to show, but just you do because you love. I sit down and I play the piano, and I'm not very good, and I love it. And I just think I don't do it for a living. I don't but somehow along the lines, we've sort of lost that freedom and permission that we give, to ourselves. It's the same thing with painting. I'm really frustrating with painting because I have really good taste in art. I know what I know what I like. I have a vision, and I have not been able, the gap between my vision and taste and my ability is here. And I know why there's that gap, because I have not put in the time and the dedication yet to Matt.
Because you don't have 9 lives. Because
I have so many things that I want to do. And so it's so the discrepancy can keep me from not doing it. But when I sit down and I take a pencil out and I start sketching and then I get the paint and I start like, it brings me such joy. I'm like, why don't I do this all the time? Right. And it's like, we have to live that, learn that lesson over and over again. And I think the real key, or one of the keys to like living a joyful, happy life, is identifying those things that we like to do that we might not, you know, do very well, and give ourselves permission just to do them anyway.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We talk about B- work. We talk about, I'm the queen of good enough is often what I say. I'm the queen of good enough. Oftentimes I'll tell my husband, why did I feel like I can do this?
You ever get like in the middle of a project and
then I'm like,
you're
because
like,
I do.
I had this vision and I think I can finish it. And I'm a recovering perfectionist. You know, I'm an oldest daughter.
Yeah, which many people are. Like, me too.
And so I always thought, because like I like things a certain way, like I'm harder on myself than anyone in my family was ever. No one was like super hard on me, but I'm hard enough on myself.
Yeah.
But just
do it anyway. I love that. So I think as we're kind of finishing up, I would really like to touch on the fact that your husband had ALS, so he passed away, and how that transition through grief and life, and after, you know, putting the emphasis with him and your family is number one. Transitions are very difficult for people with ADHD, generally speaking. Amen. And very, very crunchy. You've probably seen that in your household. And giving ourselves just the time and the space. And ALS is a really difficult disease.
It's the worst disease, I would argue.
My coach, he coached me soccer from 6th grade to 12th grade. He became like I don't want to say like another father figure, and he, when I was in college and recently newly married, that's what he had. And it was so painful. Every time I go back to San Diego, I try and make him visit, but there was months in between. And just to see how drawn out that was, it was almost a gift for me to be able to see just how much our bodies do for us.
That. Yes.
And just like how taking percentages away from our ability over that long time, so painful, but also just like this gratitude of like, thank you, Howie. His name is Howie, for teaching me what I would have never been able to see in my own mirror. So that was a little tangent, but this is something that's like very, very close and heavy to my own heart. Not the same way as yours, but he was a dynamic piece of my life too. So I just love to hear, what did that mean for your family, for your busy brain family? If that's at all helpful. What did it mean for you in trying to cultivate still this joy and this passion for life? And what would you say is the biggest growing that you did from that experience?
I mean, it just changed everything, right? The nature of ALS is that it's constant change, and there's no predictable pattern or rate of progression, and no one can tell you anything. It is the worst surprise. The one thing you know is that every day that you wake up, it's the best it's ever going to be. And you know for sure it's going to get worse the next day. So you live like that. And I'll tell you, that's improv, like in the worst way of like, like you think you have control over what your day is or how you're going to. And I, of course, being the primary caregiver and the loving wife to my best friend and mother of all of these children, I'm like, I'm going to be ahead of this. I'm going to crack the code and I'm going to stay 2 steps ahead. And I had this big binder and big dreams and big plans. What I learned as he progressed from in 4.5 years, from, I have a weird twitch in my leg, to not being able to move or speak in 4.5 years. It's a lot of change, constant change, is that it taught me that we have the illusion of control in life. And when you're healthy and things are kind of going your way, or they align with what you think, how they think they should, you have this illusion. But none of us have control over a lot of the things that happen to us, the things people say to us, the actions, sometimes our health, like lots of things. And I just didn't have, I was in a very intense time where I just never, I that luxury of just having anything that I could count on was all taken away in a dramatic way. And I learned by watching my late husband, Christopher, I learned how to navigate that next part of my life. At the time, like I couldn't see past his death. We were so aligned. You know, I love him so much. I couldn't imagine. I'm like, we started a conversation when I was 19 years old. We've been married almost 25 years. Like, I don't know myself without him. Like, so I couldn't think past it. So I didn't know I was learning this at the time. But the way that he reacted, which was, I'm just going to focus on what I can still do. So, you know, when he couldn't move and it was kind of hard. I mean, we can get into all the details, but to like, get into a wheelchair, and then he thought, oh, I can still teach. I can still do this stuff. And then when he couldn't talk, he thought, okay, I'm not going to teach anymore, but I can still direct with an assistant. I can still write. I can still be a dad. I can still be a husband. I can still be a friend. And the way that he reacted was so awe-inspiring. And also very human, because he wasn't perfect at it. And what he wanted more than anything was ordinary days. And so I remember going running. That was my time to be by myself and clear my brain and kind of cry and deal with the stress and exercise. And because I needed to stay really strong, because I needed to like physically care for him.
Lift him.
And I would run and I would just have this new appreciation for my body that I'd never had before. Like, it's a miracle that I can even sit up by myself, that I can even turn my head. It's a miracle that I can wiggle my fingers. It's a miracle that I can play the piano, even if it's crappy. Like, he'd give everything to do that. It's a miracle that I can run. All of the brain transmissions and the muscles. And I had this new appreciation for my life and what I could do and how I could serve him and my family in just a different way. I was, you know, of like, oh, this is a privilege. And once it's all taken away and all you can do is just sit, I found, like, when you talk about transitions, like, that's what I think about. He transitioned so well so that even he was still laughing every day. He was still making jokes. He was still himself, even though basically all of his physical capabilities were taken away. And I thought, you know, he could do that. And he left us with so much joy that transition, when he was gone, I was like, oh, this is all on me now. Because one thing that I love about improv more than anything is that you don't do it by yourself. It's not stand-up. You do it with other people. And that's the biggest joy. So when my favorite person was taken away, this person that I've been having a conversation with for more than half of my life, it was the biggest transition. And I thought, and there were moments where I thought, I don't think I can do this. Like, I'm not being like self-deprecating. I'm not even just being depressed. I'm just saying, like, literally, I don't think I can do it. Like, I believed it and I had no hope. And so creating hope and creating joy little by little, motivated by, like, my kids.
How? What?
I always say I give it up to God, because
good.
That's me.
Like, where did your faith come into that? Was that just relying upon him?
And he, like, my relationship with God, I'd always tried to cultivate a close relationship with God. And I'm so glad I did that before everything happened, because that is not the time. Sure. And I mean, I'm sure it works for some people, but, like, it's all hands on deck. It's like, no, let me see. What do I believe? It's like, no,
that put your binder to shame. Your faith in God preparation.
But
right?
God had proved himself to me in such, like, a beautiful, dramatic way. And so in these horrible moments, as I'm preparing my children and preparing my husband to die, and what that looks like, I was like, I don't know what to do. I felt like God helped me know what to do just by being there. Good. And so after he died, I couldn't say, God abandoned me and I'm so alone. I thought, this is weird, because God is with me and I feel comforted, but I also feel horrible. Like, I don't want to exist. So how can both of those things be true? And the dichotomy, but, you know, my faith is based on dichotomy. Two opposite things. It
always is.
I mean, just look at our first story. And I do look at creativity as a way that God speaks to us. In the beginning, God's communication and story to us starts with the creation of the world, the creation of all things. And I don't think it's a coincidence. And I actually don't think it's a bunch of chapters to like scoot before. I think God is saying to us, or he said to me, of all the things that I could start this conversation with, of like how you're going to create a new life, I want to talk about creativity first. I want to talk about how I created things step by step, little by little. That's the first thing that this is how I want to open up this conversation. And I just was like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about this like that at all. And so as I looked and I just thought everything's off the table, like it just was like I felt like my whole world had just been totally obliterated. And I thought, okay, what do you want to put back up on the table then? You can create, get to create your own life. And I was like, oh, I don't want to. It sounds like so much work. Yes, like I already know what I created.
I put a lot into that one.
And I had that time where I was like, what do you think I've been doing? I've been working so hard to create these dreams and hopes for this family. And now it's done. Like it just felt like I just thought, I thought of the very best thing. So anything else is going to be second best. So why try? And I think that creativity got me out of that. The idea of creativity is bringing into existence something that has never existed before. So my brain was quieted by the idea, and I feel like this was a spiritual prompting to me, the idea that you couldn't imagine anything so bad happening to you, and it just did. So the equal and opposite thing must also be true. Just because you can't imagine a happy, beautiful life doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It means that you haven't imagined it yet.
Whoa. And God is so much greater than that.
And that clicked in my brain of like, oh yeah, you don't know. You are talking to an ultimately like infinitely creative, powerful, loving God that you can't even comprehend what he's like. So when you say, I'll never be happy again, maybe not. Like, maybe you're wrong, Lisa. Maybe there are things you don't know. I know. And then I was like, this seems so elementary. I'm sort of embarrassed, but also inspired by, and so what does that look like? It looks like step by step. So those transitions and sharing that information with my 5 very different, very busy brained, but in different ways, children was helpful.
Sensitive as well.
And we're having these conversations and a lot of the conversations were like, your dad would want you to go live your life, right? Your dad and your mom, we don't want you just to be like, oh, my dad died. Now my life is the worst. Like, we want you to take that love and that he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to, but this is it. And now use that love, be inspired by that love, not destroyed by it, not frustrated by it. And go and create, honor your dad. You don't honor your dad by sitting around and feeling sorry for yourself. You honor your dad, you honor our family by going out and creating joy, creating a beautiful life, and you have to do it your own way. And I also encourage them to, in that transition, and myself as well, of spend more time doing things that you love, which are creative things. And it's going to be different for everybody. Some people like to write, some like to play musical instruments, some paint, some like to, I don't know, look at birds. These are all creative things. I was like, I even hate listing things out because it feels limiting.
Because then it's gonna.
And it's just and I just told my kids, you've got to find a way to work through this. When you feel like there's nothing else to do, then create something. This is what's going to help. And they've all done that in different ways. And I'm so proud of them. And I've tried to, day by day, little by little, create a kind of life that I am happy for. And I used to tell myself, you have all the elements necessary to create a happy life. All the tools, all the, paintbrushes or whatever metaphor you want to use. So you got to do it though. You've got to use them to create that for yourself, because no one's going to create it for you.
So the last, I think, question might be cherry on top question for you then with that is, what did you have to tolerate in order to move forward?
Well, no one's ever asked me that. What did I have to tolerate? So much discomfort. Being uncomfortable all the time is awful, And I still find myself in that talk about cringy. Talk about not living the life that you want to, and knowing where you want, because I lived where I wanted to be. Again, I know what that felt like, and it felt so far away for so long, because that grief just demands your attention. And so I had to sit in a lot of discomfort with uncomfortable feelings and not push them away, but to befriend them. And I had to make best friends with grief. And I had to look grief in the face and say, okay, so now we are partners for the rest of my life. And you can come and you can sit next to me, and you can leave and you can come and go. And I'm not going to try to manipulate you or predict what you're going to do or when you're going to do it. Now, this is how it is moving forward, but we're not going to just sit there. We're going to do stuff too. We're going to do it with grief. I used to just try to push it away, but that doesn't work.
That's a very human way of approaching that, is that we feel discomfort means something bad or something
exactly, or that you're doing something wrong. That discomfort feels like, I don't like this. I'm sad. This isn't working. It's a lot of fear and doubt in that discomfort. And I just had to push through it, because I thought, well, I can feel like this and do nothing, or I can feel like this and do something. And so I'll always choose to do something.
Thank you so much. That is a beautiful place to end. I feel like that's the whole point, right? You started talking about creativity and this openness, almost this naive view of what creativity and beauty was that your mom facilitated, which PS is developmentally appropriate to be there.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, Mom, for not telling me,
for doing
when
that.
Your husband dies and you've got 5 kids at home, they're super depressed.
Exactly.
You're going to really need this pastel technique. Yeah. I'm like, no, what? Don't say that.
Thank you. I do not want to do that now. Yeah, the beginning with that and embracing whatever form of creativity and notion of freedom is coming, and then seeing, the falling up the stairs and seeing where life might be, and living life on your toes and being ready to seize the moment, and then coming through something that you would have never chosen and being able to still see that, and I might be wrong, but as like a propelling part of choosing to do, choosing to be, choosing to create whatever next step is, all the while holding on to what is true and honest in grief. And I think particularly for this audience, we're often waiting for motivation. We're waiting for excitement. We're waiting for peace. But we find it in the pushing through.
We find the inspiration and the energy and the peace and the beautiful bits while we're doing, not when we're not. And the last thing I'll say too is that God magnifies our efforts in ways we can't predict, which is kind of cool.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for being here today, Lisa.
Thanks.
You've been a joy, and continue to do your amazing half-baked journey.
Anything could happen. Stay tuned. The story's not done.
We don't think it's half-baked. We just really enjoy you. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Busy Brain Saint podcast. If you're eager to explore the world of ADHD coaching, make sure to connect with me on Instagram at Camden_ADHD or visit my website, CamdenADHDcoaching.com. For more LDS-specific ADHD content, don't forget to follow this podcast and join us on Instagram at The Busy Brain Saint. Listen, I'm here to support you on your journey. I cannot wait to have you as a part of our community. Stay engaged, stay inspired, and remember, you're not alone here. Thanks for being a part of the Busy Brain Saint family.